suit on. Welcome to the Muck.
There's a myth that's grown legs and run further than anyone in this region of Florida could have imagined. That chasing rabbits during the burn down of the sugarcane fields makes for quicker, faster, and more agile athletes. Drive 60 miles north from Broward County or 40 miles east from West Palm Beach, and on the bank of Lake Okeechobee, you will find a handful of small towns known as the Glades, often called the Muck.
The Glades area, we're affectionately known as the Muck because of the rich, dark soil that we have here that can grow just about anything that you plant in it.
Now, if you've heard of the Muck, it's probably because the area is known for producing more than 50 football stars.
Sundays is church, Friday nights is football.
And on this Friday night, the sports world is tuned in for one of the biggest, grittiest high school football rivalries, the Muck Bowl.
I'm rooting for the Pahokee Blue Devils!
This is our third year doing the Muck Bowl.
This is our table for the food. That's what it is. Okay.
We thought we had some time. Tushy click, tushy click, it's tushy click. There we go.
It's for the kids? Okay. 3. Okay, I have 15.
It's a must-see game for most people in town. Luz Torres and her kids are no different.
The top makes it a good game.
It does bring people together. People come out of town, just to come to the Muck Bowl. And, it's also our homecoming as well, so it's special. It does get pretty intense. Emotions on both sides, because everybody wants to win, but there can only be one winner.
But when the argument of who the best football team in town is settled, there's a more controversial debate being discussed, putting a focus on the area's #1 export, sugar.
Her soil is her fortune.
You get your sugar from here. That's where our sugar comes from.
The sugar industry is probably the largest industry that employs people that live here.
We live in an agriculture area.
the cane would burn, you would see the smoke, the ash.
It's just, I guess, billows of smoke and ash fall into the air, and then whatever goes up eventually will come down.
A lot of people call it black snow because it truly is traveling like snow, you know, as the wind carries. And if you are close enough, like you see a lot of it.
Even on 27, they shut the traffic down because people can't see.
You would wake up and on your car, you'd see the ash.
Just live and deal with it.
The burn is a nuisance.
But Luz Torres says the black snow is more than a nuisance for her family.
Back there, you have Hannah.
I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I think we're gonna keep it homey and keep it home, and we're gonna just finish it out right here. They say when you come to the Muck, you're kind of stuck. It's a very small town. I mean, you go to your stores, you know everybody. My daddy moved here because he was a farm truck driver, and he thought he can do something good by working in the fields. But you know what? I love the Glades. The sugar fields, those are our backyards. We drive those going to school, back and forth to work. It's inevitable. You can't come out here without passing a field or seeing a bird, or there's no way during that season. When they burn the sugarcane fields, it's piles of smoke and ash that rise into the air, and it all rains down just like it would rain on you. Like right now, we're kind of like in our allergy zone. Set, hi. My son, sometimes when it's really bad, he has to take, you know, the albuterol machine. You got a lot of mucus. You gotta blow your nose. You have to use the albuterol treatment, the cetirizine, the Flonase, the, you know, Vicks. I'm telling you, we have to do it all to just try to sleep. It's just highly allergenic. That doesn't help it. So if I'm already allergic to the blooming of the flowers, now I'm having this extra additive in my breathing. I have this little ash and smoke that, it doesn't help it. Some people tell us, well, then move. Where I'm gonna go? This is my house. You know, I'm gonna raise my babies right here. No one can sit and tell me that the black snow doesn't affect the way you and I breathe.
In terms of what happens with the agricultural burning, is it does produce different kinds of pollutants.
Agricultural burns emit a source of pollution called particulate matter, small particles, that when breathed in can get deep into your lungs and bloodstream. The Environmental Protection Agency says particles less than 2.5 micrometers in diameter, known as PM 2.5, pose the greatest risk to your health.
It is a very small grain, not visible to the naked eye. It is approximately 40 times smaller than a grain of sand.
It gets into the blood vessels, and that's what triggers the tiny particle. Your body knows it doesn't belong, and that's what triggers the entire inflammatory response.
Car emissions, smokestacks, unpaved roads, power plants, and fires are all sources of PM.
So can you imagine if you're already sick from diabetes, you already have some lung problems, or you just happen to be born genetically with the risk of allergies and asthma, then you get this other irritant, this other outside factor coming on what you're already struggling with. Of course, it's going to be worse.
In Florida, more particle pollution comes from fires than any other source. In fact, the state ranks higher than any other state for the amount of particulate matter released in the air from prescribed fires. But a government-run air monitor in Belglade, the largest city in the Glades, labels the air as good and shows the area is in compliance with the federal air quality standards. But residents have long voiced their concerns about how they say the ash and soot from sugarcane burns impacts their lives.
Anytime they start to burn sugarcane, my asthma and allergies flare up.
Research links particle pollution to health problems such as irregular heartbeat, aggravated asthma, decreased lung function, and increased respiratory symptoms like coughing or difficulty breathing.
This kind of intermittent burning from agricultural settings is something that has not received as much focus as traffic-related smoke or wildfire smoke.
Lisa Wiese and Christine Williams with Florida Atlantic University are conducting a 5-year study.
My mother used to have a saying. She said, that person's the salt of the earth.
They make frequent trips to the Glades to speak with people about their living conditions and factors that could impact their risk of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. They also want to know if smoke from sugarcane burns plays a part.
They do cross the blood-brain barrier and cause neuroinflammation, and that is what sets up the problem of increasing your susceptibility to Alzheimer's disease.
Saliva kits and pulmonary function tests.
But what I want to do is when we were here last time, there was a couple people who said, oh, just come back. We're here all the time when you want to do your research. So I just wanted to talk with them.
I am Dr. Lisa Wiese from the College of Nursing at FAU. I'm over here sometimes on weekends where we're doing the blood pressure checks.
Do you ever feel like you have a harder time breathing when they're burning the cane?
Nope.
No, you do okay? Good. Because sometimes people have lived in agricultural areas where there's a lot of cane burning and pesticides and things like that. They don't realize how much it's affected their lungs. So we're checking this to find out if it's a problem for your lungs or not. Can you take a deep breath in with me? And then put this in your mouth and blow. Blow out like you're blowing a balloon. Blow, 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 blow. That's it. Perfect, perfect. We are so happy to be working with residents to find out what their daily routine is like and what they normally do eat, because so much of it is involved with that. And how often are they exposed to black ash falling from the sugarcane burns?
Cane fires are short in nature, often lasting less than 30 minutes at a time, making it harder to pinpoint exact health impacts from these short bursts of pollution.
If you can see in the distance, you got cane. So when they start to burn the cane, the ash, the dust, all flies.
For Calvin Lowe, a deacon living in Pahokee.
I got here in 1992. Never had a problem with it until I got here.
He says his family struggles with pre-existing conditions like asthma and several allergies that get worse during burn season.
The itching of your eyes, the breathing problems, runny noses, the coughing. So it's a lot of different issues you might have.
Testing 1, 2.
Every day, it's a constant worry of when the wind is going to pick up, when the wind is going to take direction or a different direction, and try to save every nickel you can for those days that, hey, we got a flare up today. Tomorrow we have an allergy attack. If you don't live out here, how would you know what the air quality is like? For 2 generations, myself and my children, you don't have children out here to have to go through what my children has been through. Let's move forward into making our community a better place to live and a healthier place to live. And we cannot do that without our leaders and people that are going to stick together in making this a healthier community. The sugar corporations being the biggest and multi-billion-dollar industries around here, it's the biggest industry out here, and I think to personally say that they have more pull than your average guy around here.
We heard you were wishing for something to eat.
Something sweet.
It's already sweetened. We hope you've noticed.
Each single puff is candy coated.
Sugar. It's sweet. And in most of the things we eat. From cereals to juice and pasta sauce, you name it. And chances are one of the ingredients is sugar.
So a lot of people say that sugar is addictive as, for example, taking drugs or doing drugs.
On average, Americans eat 17 teaspoons of added sugar a day, roughly 40% more than what's recommended.
And the thing is, because we constantly need more of it to get that high or get that dopamine release, which is the feel-good hormone in the body or in the brain. So we constantly crave more and more, and it can be a habit.
Our craving for sugar isn't new and comes with a bittersweet past. In the 15th century, sugar consumption started to take off in Western Europe. Soon, demand grew so much that production expanded to the Americas, where sugar plantations used millions of African slaves to harvest the crop. When slavery ended, government subsidies helped to bolster the industry,
Your veggie booties, Granny. It's sugar sweet and honey-flavored wheat.
flooding our shelves with sugary products.
And if we did not have sugar cane as a crop, I really don't know what we'd do with this land.
Sugar became king in South Florida after 1959 and the Cuban Revolution, when sugar imports from Cuba were halted. The result, more of the Everglades was drained to produce the crop. Today, Florida's sugar industry, known as Big Sugar, has two major players, U.S. Sugar and Florida Crystals, and dozens of smaller farmers known as the Sugarcane Growers Cooperative of Florida. Together, they employ over 19,000 people with an estimated economic impact of over $4.7 billion on the state's economy.
I get it directly from U.S. Sugar in just massive 50-pound bags.
Tea, the lemonade, meatloaf, brownies, all of my sweets. I even use it in my oxtails. I make all my sauces, so a lot of that is incorporated with the sugar. Slow and steady. It's a small town. Not a lot of money rolling through the small town if it wasn't for U.S. Sugar. Absolutely appreciative of them. It's just when people come into town working at U.S. Sugar, they're looking for home-cooked food, and that's what I do here. Whew. You can definitely tell the business picks up. About 65–70% of my clientele comes from U.S. Sugar. I wouldn't be able to survive at all. They had a big hand in building up Coolston.
They'll invest in the community, they'll give to charity and philanthropy. For many years, they have given a lot of money to the legislators to make sure that they can have favorable conditions for their business. In return, want favorable laws, or they want to block unfavorable laws to help their business in Florida.
In 2021, Big Sugar got a big win. Florida lawmakers voted in favor of expanding the state's Right to Farm Act. The law helps protect farmers from lawsuits related to impacts from things like smoke, dust, fumes, and particle emissions. Only people who live within 1/2 mile can file a nuisance lawsuit.
We should be allowed to farm without fear of lawsuits because we're going by the book. If you don't like what we're doing, let's change the rules.
Rick Roth is a third-generation farmer.
So you all have been here at this farm for how long?
This piece of land, 1962.
And also a Florida state representative who voted in favor of the Right to Farm Act expansion.
I am a sugarcane farmer. You think he has to tell me how to vote? I already know how to vote. So I vote my conscience. One of the things you have to understand is we are highly regulated.
Farmers must get permission to burn from the Florida Forest Service, the state agency over cane burning. The Florida Forest Service offers training and certification courses to sugar companies on conducting safe, controlled pre-harvest burns.
The mill doesn't want all this green fiber. All it wants is a whole stalk of sugarcane. So what we want to deliver to the sugar mill is stalks of sugarcane without all the leaves. So all this trash is a nuisance for the sugar mill, and also we can harvest a lot faster if the field is burned. They're charging me by the hour for all the tractors, all the labor, all the harvesters, all the trucks that haul the cane, so efficiency is cost. The other issue about burning sugarcane, if you're taking sugarcane out of production and going to plant vegetables, if you don't burn this field, you're going to have a lot of trash. And so it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks longer to prepare the land to plant the next crop. So it's very carefully done to try to do it because it costs me money.
Burn permits are approved on a daily basis depending on factors like wind direction, proximity to smoke-sensitive areas like schools, neighborhoods, and busy roads, the air quality index, and how quickly the smoke will disperse. A look at a little over 2 burn seasons worth of permits shows farmers in the Everglades agricultural area submitted around 23,000 burn requests to the state, with close to 90% of them requesting to burn sugarcane. On average, the state approved roughly 24 fires a day.
We have a new factor now called dispersion index. So let's say, for example, we're going to burn this field. If those people in that house are worried about smoke, well, then you need to burn so the wind's blowing away from the house. Well, what if there's no wind? Well, then the smoke just lingers. So that's one of the factors that the department uses. When you get up close to town, then you need to be more careful. The burn is a nuisance. It's a headache. It could cause problems. But thank God we have air conditioning. If you're close by, stay in your house. It'll be done in 30 minutes. And it's not like it's a pollutant, it's ash. It was just general statements that it causes harm. Well, where's the harm? If you live in Belglade and you've got severe respiratory problems and it's causing you a problem, I don't know, maybe you need to think of another solution. But the industry is doing everything it can to be compatible with the citizens. Agriculture is what brings money to the Glades.
Even with all the money being made by Big Sugar, the cities that dot the Glades remain some of the poorest in the state. Close to 1/3 of the people in Belglade and Pahokee are living in poverty.
This is poor community, undereducated community, marginalized community. I'll take my job from you. You know, that's the biggest scare tactic here. Oh, you want this industry to leave? We'll pack up and leave. We'll take our industry out of here.
Former Pahokee Mayor Colin Walk says he started questioning the impacts of cane burning while in office in 2013.
Trying to speak from the dais about these issues of sugarcane burning, spraying of insecticides, pesticides, water quality issues and things of that nature, of course, start to rub some people the wrong way. Shanique Scott. She was my counterpart, an appointed mayor in the city of South Bay, and she started raising concerns as well about the practices of the industry. And of course, as mayors, we didn't have any direction on where to go and where to turn.
DOH won't protect our health. DOH protects Big Sugar well. What do we want? DOH, stop the silence.
And the Sierra Club heard our cries, and they then came to the community.
I started working full-time with the Sierra Club on the Stop Sugar Field Burning campaign back in June of 2016.
DOH, stop the silence!
This is certainly a company town, certainly labeled as taboo to challenge the industry for their practices. Your friends will come around 1:30. A big role of our campaign has been educating the community that there is an alternative called burn-free green harvesting, and that the industry can in fact harvest sugarcane without burning.
When do we want them? Now!
We're hoping that this could lead to a resolution that could put the industry on the path towards green harvesting or lead to burn-free buffer zones.
Sugar's burned 8 months out of the year. What do we want? Healthy boundaries. When do we want them? Now.
And they had you sign up if you were interested to try to get more information by email. So I did. I signed up. They offered me a sign. I took the sign. I looked up at all those different articles and findings, and I thought this is really interesting. I felt like if just one person complained and said, hey, it's hard for me to breathe, that the sugar company would just do what they could to try to, help out.
We're here today because we've asked for a meeting with the Department of Health, and we have not got that meeting. The Department of Health has issued many warnings to the Glades whenever there's blue algae in Lake Okeechobee. Why aren't they issuing any warnings when they're burning sugarcane around our homes, churches, and schools? We demand that we get the same type of warning so parents, the elderly, those who have respiratory issues can know when to stay inside when they're going to be burning sugarcane fields in the Glades.
Wildlife that lives in those fields.
Ross Benjamin joined the Stop the Burn movement 4 years ago.
You lock up inside here, you do the air conditioning thing, but it still comes through the vent. The smog, and when you step outside, you'll see the soot on the car. You could go, you put your fingers and you pull it down, it's, oh man, it's like residue. It personally affects my health. I was diagnosed with COPD.
Benjamin says after years of smoking marijuana, he was diagnosed with COPD. He no longer smokes, but says his breathing becomes irritated during burn season from the ash and smoke from fields that surround his home.
The doctors suggested that, I should let's try to find somewhere else to go during the burn season. So this is really a personal initiative in terms of my health. Shortage of breath, feel lethargic, numbness.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
To escape the ash, he says he often stays with family and friends and leaves his home in Lake Harbor, a place he moved to 11 years ago, with the goal of living a sustainable life off the grid.
Just ambience, be away from it all, and just for my personal meditation and restoration. Yeah, this is we call it Ethiopian apple. It's an apple tree right here. It's also like a Tahiti apple. And the plant I showed you, the white one over there, it's a star apple. This happened to be the purple star apple. Not been able to use it in 3 years. I have my clothes lying dry, my laundry on the outside because of the toxic smoke and dust and residue from the burn and the cane. And this is my habitat, this is where I live, I just don't want to feel I'm just existing here. I live here. And that is very hurtful, and I'm really disappointed that they have not done anything to, alleviate that.
We deserve better!
It's not my idea, but just adopt a practice that we all can, in a way, live with.
DOA, stop the silence!
that money talks. Those who have higher influence are most of the time able to get what they desire.
In 1991, residents from the suburbs east of the Glades in Wellington and Royal Palm Beach complained about the ash and smoke.
Of course, they started to ramp up development in the 90s. So people are moving in, homes are being built, pools are being built, and they started experiencing the side effects of sugarcane burning.
At the time, the Florida Department of Agriculture cracked down, issuing new restrictions to cut down on the smoke and ash when the wind blows east. A state official said they were trying to eliminate the potential problems for people having to breathe the ash.
We've dealt with this all of our lives. Now that they're a new development and they don't want the black ash in their yards and in their community, now they know what to do to ensure that it doesn't happen.
Most people living in Belglade, Pahokee, and South Bay in the Glades are Black or Hispanic, with white people making up less than 12%, while the eastern suburbs of Wellington and Royal Palm are between 40 and 60% white.
The current criteria allow burning when the winds blow from east to west, but there are more restrictions on burning when the winds are prevailing from west to east.
Current regulations from the Florida Forest Service show burning is allowed with any wind direction in the zone that covers the cities of the Glades. Cane burning, though, comes with restrictions in the zones between the Glades and the coast. When the wind is headed east, burning is only allowed if the winds are less than 12 miles per hour and are backing fires, meaning the fire backs into the wind and is slow moving. And in the zone that covers the Palm Beach coastline, there is no cane burning allowed at all when the wind travels in that direction.
That means that the current criteria are providing a greater protective effect to communities east of the Glades compared with west of the Glades.
When we analyzed a little over 2 years of burn permits and available wind direction data from the state, we found the state denied burns at a higher rate when the wind was headed east toward the Palm Beach coastline versus west toward the Glades. Roughly 20% of burn requests were denied when the wind was headed east, while just around 10% were denied when the wind was headed west.
Whether or not there's wind or not, on those no wind days, when those burning can take place, those adjacent communities are getting significant exposure.
So that should let you know if it's pushing towards the coast where more of the money is, they don't burn. It's only in the lower communities that they burn the sugar cane.
So we know based on the published literature that patients in racial minority groups and patients with low socioeconomic status are disproportionately exposed to air pollution. That's all across the United States. And that disproportionately then impacts their health.
When a Black community is going to face a disproportionate burden of an environmental hazard, we should absolutely be evaluating who's bearing that burden and what policy do we need to put in place and practices to ensure that they aren't disproportionately burdened and that their health is protected. So when we're thinking about environmental justice, that's really a movement concerned with addressing the environmental racism that's been embedded in policy decisions that disproportionately disposes of hazardous waste in Black communities.
Abigail Fleming with the University of Miami Environmental Justice Clinic says Florida has known cases of environmental injustice. One case dates back to the 1920s.
The end of Old Smoky in a pile of dust is probably a fitting finale to this polluter known for the smoke and ashes it poured forth during its lifetime. Where Old Smoky stood for some 13 years, the city will make a park. So perhaps Old Smoky's legacy will make up for the annoyance it caused throughout the years.
We didn't have much, but whatever we had, we made the best of.
Municipal trash incinerators are, well-known sources of dangerous pollutants. So trash incinerators have both fly ash, which is emitted from the smokestacks, and then also bottom ash, which is generated from the actual incinerator furnace. So the city used this as for all their municipal waste. So some of the toxic chemicals are things like lead, dioxin, arsenic, and all of which are known to be dangerous to human health.
Depending on what is burning, different chemical compounds are released into the air, and they might have differing effects on the body.
Smoky here in a predominant black neighborhood, it was okay for them. We played in it like it was snow, you know what I mean? Black tar, falling from the sky, down on top of the house. Going in the house, sometimes they would shut the school down just because of the smoke that was coming into the school. And we didn't think about the damage that it was doing, or did to the neighborhood.
And I remember in the mornings when the smoke would be burning, the smoke, you could look like a fog coming across the field.
Was this a park back then?
This was a park. We played basketball out here, and they had a tennis court. And we played on this hill right here too as kids. We used to ride our bikes and skates and stuff down there.
And all of that happening in the midst of smoke coming from the building.
Because we didn't know. I mean, when you're a kid, you're not thinking about that.
You knew it wasn't healthy, but hey, it was just here.
Because we shouldn't have been, breathing that stuff or nowhere near it. Should have been somewhere else, away from the residents.
My father used to work over there. I used to have to take him his lunch, and it was just, I felt kind of good, going over there, but I didn't think on the tragic that it had, and that it was leaving, that it brought, and that it had on the neighborhood. But he had to quit because he started getting ill.
The goal is to ensure that residents who were exposed to these deadly toxins have access to testing and health care that they desperately need.
It's a huge issue because a lot of times when you see a toxic spill, the place that you see it is in an impoverished community.
City knows it's wrong now for not coming back and addressing that and making it right, We can put up structures to and rectify and fix everything else. But when it comes to African American communities throughout the United States, right? Governments don't want to be held accountable for that. They tell us to get over it, or it's not there, or whatever the case may be, when evidence in itself shows that we have been adversely affected by what has been going on here.
In 28 years, nobody has ever voiced their concerns about the burn.
Former Hendry County Commissioner Janet Taylor and Reverend Gary McNeely are well known in the Clewiston community and lead separate organizations that speak out in favor of sugar industry practices.
Try our best to make sure that we disseminate correct information so that people who are on the outside can get information from people who are living this every day. Not some environmentalist or just somebody who's sitting in the lab or even some politician, but the people who are dealing with this every day. And really, I say it's an attack on the farming industry of this region.
I think they consider and look at the Sierra Club and any other environmental thing. They are just usually white elitists from outside our community that wants to come and impose their wishes upon us. Our motto is that if we are not at the table, we're on the menu. So if they had a real concern for us, they would come to us and they would talk about things that are a real issue to us: housing, transportation, education. Even at some point, with the amount of funding and money that they have, they would come and try to contribute something to us to help improve our situations, whatever they might be. They need to go get facts.
And the fact is, the data from the government-run monitor in the Glades shows the air is good, and the area is in compliance with the EPA standards. Reports like those from the American Lung Association give Palm Beach County an A grade when it comes to particle pollution. But some experts are questioning the data, how it's collected, and whether the information tells the full story.
Data can be good or data can be bad, and how you use it. So they have data that does show that at the time that they collected it, the air quality was good. We will not dispute that. But then when you dig deeper, what time did you collect it? How was the wind blowing? What were the monitors? How many monitors did you use? Were the monitors around where my community lives? Were the monitors near the school when you're burning the air, burning the fields? So if you can show me all of the details, and when you break down the details, when they show you when they monitored, it did not reflect the true picture of the times that the damage is being done.
Brazil is the world's largest producer of sugar, growing 20 times more acres of the crop than in the United States. Sao Paulo State is home to the country's largest sugar-growing region. The people here have a saying: sugar is in their DNA.
So this is sugarcane juice, very common here in Brazil. One with lemon, one without lemon. Oh, that's so good.
They aren't just eating sugar in their food. The majority of cars in Brazil run on a mix of gasoline and ethanol derived from sugarcane. And the crop is responsible for creating close to 9% of the electricity in the country. But despite a heavy reliance on sugarcane, the industry made the leap away from pre-harvest burning more than a decade ago.
Are you surprised that they're still using pre-harvest burning in the United States?
Yes, it's really surprising that America, that is the country of the high technology, that they still use the burning. It's really strange.
Attorney Renata Camargo works for Unica, a trade group for the country's sugar industry. She says when residents, doctors, and public health officials started voicing concerns related to the ash and soot from cane burning, the industry had a decision to make.
Mainly the harvesting with the burning was really causing lots of concerns, mainly into the respiratory problems. So the sector was with an image problem and with an economic problem too.
In 2002, Sao Paulo passed a law mandating the elimination of sugarcane burning within the next 2 decades. But the sugar industry managed to cut almost all burning in the state much sooner.
So since 2017, we don't have burn here in São Paulo anymore. Actually, the last year we had 90.8% of all the area of sugarcane here in São Paulo harvested on green.
Do you think this region would ever go back to burning?
Here in São Paulo, no way. It's the same of burning money, that's the fact.
It's the same here in Australia.
Because Brazilian sugar farms found out the pros. outweighed the cons, and they could save money by halting the practice.
We understood in Brazil that keeping this material on the ground, we got better conditions for the cane, so we get better conditions of humidity for the soil, so the soil is staying wet for more time. Then the roots of the cane can absorb water then to grow.
What farmers burn away and call leaf trash in the United States, farms like São Manuel are using to fertilize and protect the soil. When farmers burn, they are burning away the straw or leaf trash. Then the harvesting machine can easily cut the cane. When you use mechanical harvesting without burning, the machine cuts the stalk and drops the leafy outside on the ground as an additional covering to help maintain moisture, organic matter, and protect against the erosion of soil.
When you don't burn it, you have to change some aspects of the equipment or reduce the speed and all the other parameters, but it will get better environment stuff.
Those leaves can also be picked up and taken to the mill to create energy. At some farms, they are creating second-generation ethanol.
We could produce energy with this, so if you take this to the mill, you can burn it and produce energy. It's one of the uses. And in the industrial process, we are trying to find another uses for it in Brazil, but the main one is producing energy.
In the areas too mountainous to harvest by machine, there's a small percentage of farms still burning crops. They have until 2031 to make the full transition.
Brazil differs from other countries when it comes to its climate, its soil, and the amount of sugar that it produces. But researchers in this region say that some of their practices can be adapted in the United States.
Dr. Heitor Cantarella is a leading sugarcane researcher at the Sao Paulo State Institute of Agronomy in Campinas.
My mom used to complain that ashes were flying over the house every day, and it was a big nuisance. And also people complaining about respiratory problems. Many cities are surrounded by sugar mills, so this was a big problem.
Florida's sugar industry is resistant to stop burning. U.S. Sugar told us dealing with sugarcane growing and harvesting conditions is not a one-size-fits-all proposition, pointing to differences in agricultural landscape, soil composition, climate, and pest as reasons why harvesting without burning is a challenge. But Cantarella says issues like pest and creating excess moisture within the soil by leaving the leaves down can be solved by simply picking the leaves up.
They can remove the trash from over the line of plants and pile them in the row.
Brazil's transition away from burning was also a transition away from using workers to cut the cane by hand, increasing the cost for sugar companies.
We had investments to the acquisition of the equipment.
Did the sugar industry or individual farms receive direct subsidies or money from the federal government to make this transition?
No, actually, we didn't have any kind of support of the government, no.
Florida did away with manual harvesters decades ago, but still the majority of sugarcane going to the mill from Florida's sugar industry comes from fields that have been burned. But in Brazil, where sugar is the driving force behind so much, Brazilian farmers say sustainability is key.
When we burn leaves, we are wasting 1/3 of the energy that is in the sugarcane plant.
In protecting their way of life.
And nowadays we are better than we were 5, 10, 20 years ago.
Sugar companies have proven green harvesting in Florida can be done.
Now, the good news for the public is we are doing more green harvesting today. We're probably up around, I don't know, maybe 15% of the harvest today is green.
Green harvesting has been spotted near highways, homes, and retail locations in and around the glades.
We're trying to figure out ways to do more green harvest. We typically have to slow down about 30% slower in a green field because you just got more trash, the operator's having trouble seeing. Another issue we talk about,
is in a green field, if you have a spark or a fire, the operator could be in the middle of a fire. So if you burn the field first, then that's never a problem. So, but the main reason is cost.
The one we hear the most is, we're radical environmentalists, we're trying to put the industry out of business. When, in reality, this campaign since day one has been promoting the solution of green harvesting as a true win-win situation.
What's going on, Brother Walks? Good to see you. Good to see you. Fred, thanks for coming out. Always a pleasure. How you doing, Ann?
I am well and happy.
Good
How
to
are
see
you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. All right, you guys ready to go in?
You hear about the workshop? If there's any space available.
I know, right? I'll go around that way and sit in that back row.
Item number 6, which is the green harvesting win-win for the Glades.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, residents. My name is Steve Messam, and I'm excited tonight to just share a great opportunity that I believe this region, our communities can definitely benefit from. Many of you may have already seen fields that got picked up green without burning it. And we just think that since some fields can get green harvesting, why not more? So some of the countries who have actually been using green harvesting a lot is Brazil. And the benefits that they have had from an environmental standpoint and from an economical standpoint has been very noticeable. But let's talk a little bit more about some of the economic benefits of green harvesting. There actually are some products that can be produced by the same trash that is being burnt off of the cane stalk. Those leaves that are some people's trash are other people's treasure. Some of the products is biofuel, things like ethanol and biodiesel. These are other products that can be used off of the same trash that is being burnt off of the sugar canes. So what does that mean for our people here? That means that if you use the trash, you can actually create more jobs. You can have green jobs that can supplement the time when the workers who are only working 6 to 8 months out of the year, they now have opportunities to supplement their income by working these other jobs to continue to bring in money.
I've been here all my life, and many people in the audience been here all their life. So when we put these in the windows out there, I think sometimes that's what allow the negativity when people don't want to sit down and talk about it, because you're already putting a poison on our industry, saying, that it's causing people to die.
It's just that when you have an industry that has so much power, that has so much influence, it's hard for folks to start complaining about stuff, because it's easy for folks to be like, well, here's another study that combats it. Here's this study. Here's this study. We can go study for study, but everyone knows that our kids and our older individuals who have COPD and asthma, whenever it's harvest time, they have respiratory issues. But we're not here to talk about the negative aspect. We're here to talk about is an alternative that can just mute that whole conversation. We don't want to hurt the industry. We just think that our community deserves better, a better quality of life, not having to deal with the black snow and the issues that some folks do have. We're not saying everybody in the Glades have respiratory issues. But as the parable that talks about the 100 sheep, when one is lost, the shepherd left the ones who were fine just for that one who was lost. So if there's anybody who's impacted by this, then we should have a concern. And if there's an alternative that can help, why not explore it?
I was one of the critics of Stop the Burn, I'm going to be honest with you, until recently. And when I saw them harvesting green, that I thought was impossible for them to do, then it opened my eyes to saying if they can do it on 80, they can do it over on the east side of Belglade, and they can do it south between Pardino Park. Why can't we do it wherever there is a community where people are living?
I have a lot of family. When I say we, us, I'm talking about my husband, I'm talking about my uncles, I'm talking about my family, my friends, everybody that's worked in the industry. So I'm here to defend them. And many of the employees of the industry are here tonight, so please turn around and tell them that whenever they lose their job, I don't know who's going to be responsible for that. Some people can't just pick up and leave, grab their stuff and leave. Some of these people aren't educated. They need these jobs. That's all they know how to do is work in the ag industry. And let me tell you, when my husband doesn't have a job, I'll be the first one gone. I'll be the first one gone. And with me, my 50 aunts and uncles will too.
I have nothing against the industry. I support the industry. I want the industry to thrive. And I believe green harvesting will help them. We're talking about a vision of 100% green harvest. We know it's not going to happen right away, but so it's not an attack. And I get everything is so politicized here because we want to stoke fear. It's not about fear. Nobody's trying to take nobody's jobs. Nobody's not trying to do that.
My hope for the future is that every person who says they're from the Glades and loves the Glades would just take the chance, the opportunity to review all this information. And I believe getting better is by green harvesting. And if we open our mouths and speak and say, hey, let's do things different, maybe the people who are in charge and have the hand in it can say, let's try to make a change, knowing that it's not an overnight thing. But I just feel like if they make plans to say, look, we hope to, in X many years, be total green, I would take that. Our practices are in the evening, so what can I do just to continue to monitor his condition and monitor to see if he's showing any more symptoms per usual, and then just keep an eye on that and try to figure out the best combination of our medicines to take so that we can do it all again the next day. And even though we have our little health concerns, you know, with our breathing and things, it just makes me feel happy that, you know, we're doing all that we can do so that Manny can just be a normal kid, be out here running with the rest of them.
This issue isn't black and white, but maybe a shade of gray. Visit a town on either side of the sugarcane fields and you will find varying opinions.
Clean air is a basic right of every person.
If we are not at the table, we're on the menu.
But weed through the muck.
People of the Glades are very resilient.
And what you find is one community with a way of life.
Nobody don't know what living like is until they lived in the Glades.
Filled with love.
Pahokee, Florida, I love you.
Everybody loves the Glades. It's a place where everybody knows everybody.
Compassion and care.
It's a community where everyone is looking out for each other. We're truly that village.
A community still chasing answers.
Why aren't they issuing any warnings when they're burning sugarcane? We deserve better.
To help protect a people. Worth protecting.